Good morning. So I want to start with a little exercise, an exercise that really helps me to um, bring mindfulness into my day, to bring mindfulness into different activities of the day, different things, whatever you do. You can start to bring awareness into the day. And this is a really important part of the practice as well. So you're going to pick an object around you, something that you can pick up and easily hold in your hand. So it can be really anything, maybe the size of your fist or smaller, can be something small as well. So pick something without touching it yet, pick some object around you. Okay, if you have your object, what's mine gonna be? Okay. So this thing you have there, you have some idea of it. You have some idea of what it is. You know what it is. You can identify it. You could um, describe its function. You could describe its existence. So maybe if you just write in the chat, what is the object? What is the name of this object as a thing which exists in our world? Is it a how do we usually conventionally call this object? A half banana, a rubber ball, a glass. I have a nut, a cup. Okay, great. So bringing the attention to the object, our idea of this object, so it's a glass, a cup, a nut, whatever it is. Let's start to just look more at the direct experience of this object. So what is the direct? We have some idea of this object. And what is our actual experience of this object? So you can see this object. You can see light, texture, its shape. You can see the way that it rests on the surface. And let's pick up this object and just be aware of your experience of this object. So as you start to touch it, as you pick it up, there's experience of touching, experience of sensation of the object. So if you close your eyes now and you hold this object, is what you saw the same thing as what you sense, as what you touch now? Really, it's a completely different experience, isn't it? Touching this object, you can maybe feel different texture, shapes, temperature, smoothness, roughness. And this experience of touching somehow is a completely different thing than what you saw. So only in our mind does this object exist as something stable, continuous. As we start to contact more the direct experience of it. What is it really? And before you bring it up to your nose to smell, before you bring it up to your nose to smell, do you have some imagination, some idea of what this object might smell like? Maybe there is some imagination. So now I want you to smell it. That the same experience as what your imagination was. Okay. Now we're going to put down the object again where it was. And now I want you to see how you interact with this object and to remember not only that, so you want to interact with this object, but not only to just interact with it, but to remember the way there. So what I mean by that is you're in a moment you're going to reach out for this object and touch it again. And just remember that there's a way to the object. So you are going to reach for it and feel the experience along the way. Before you make contact with this object, there's an experience of moving your hand, an experience of sensation of the body. Maybe your vision shifts. If your body moves slightly, your vision shifts. Maybe it means that a different feeling of gravity, different feeling of sensation of touch with the chair, with the floor is going to happen. So let's remember the way to this object. So let's take this object. And then as you bring it back to you, remembering that way also. Now, seeing this object again. Is this experience of seeing this object the same experience as it was a few minutes ago? It's in your hand now. You can examine it. And now closing the eyes and bringing more the attention into the sensation. Allowing this to be a completely new experience. Maybe feeling its weight, maybe checking the texture. Seeing where in your hand you hold it. How it feels to move it through space. And again, we bring it to the nose, but remembering the way to the nose. There's experience along the way as we bring it to the nose. Does it smell the same as before? Does it smell the same as your idea of what it smells like? The direct experience of this object right now, of smelling, is it the same as the direct experience of seeing, of touching? Okay, and in a moment, putting down the object, but not doing it yet, and just, so when I said putting down the object, maybe some thought came, some image came of how you will put it down, some idea, some thought about where you will put it down. So just sense that intention, sense that kind of plan. You might even be able to feel it now before you put it down. You can feel this action even in your body. There's a movement, there's a direction. You might feel your whole body is kind of oriented towards where you will put it down. You might already feel activity in the places of the body which will be used, maybe the arm. So the mind is already planning, already thinking, already intending this action, cueing it before it has happened. And as you, in a moment, put it down, just remembering the way again, remembering the way to putting it down. It's not just an action that you fulfill, but there's the actual experience of that action playing out, which is maybe different than the imagination or the planning of that action. So starting to put it down now. And removing back your hand, be aware of that. Okay. Good. That was the exercise. What is something you noticed? Can be anything. Write in the chat something you noticed during that experience. And different all the experiences were from seeing to touch in the way. Feels different now. Experience with each sense was different all the time. I watched it twice but noticed different things. The act of putting it down felt different from the planning imagination of it. Okay, nice. So there were many different things in there, many different uh, things appearing. But in general, what maybe I want to uh, share with this is that we are continuously doing things throughout the day, and there's an experience there, and we can choose to live more in that experience, or we can choose to just be more in our conceptualizing our thinking about the experience. So, for example, if I choose to walk across the room now, saying, oh, yeah, I want to walk across the room, and I go there, and that's like one chunk of thing I did, one action I did. But what is that really made out of? There's different things. There's multiple steps in there. There's feelings, there's thoughts, there's sensations. Just like in our meditation, we do a walking meditation. Maybe before we start the meditation, hey, I'm going to do the walking meditation. It's this thing. It's this 30-minute thing which I do. But then I start to go into it. I start to pay attention to the experience. What happens in that 30 minutes? So many things happen. So many thoughts, so many feelings, so many different sensations, so many steps, so many. And every day we do that, right? Every day is 30 minutes walking. You might say, oh, it's the same thing every day. It's 30 minutes walk. But wow, it's so much stuff happening there. So throughout our days, throughout our life, every day, it's a day, it's the same thing. But there's so much things happening in there, so many different sensations, sound, feelings, thoughts, activities. And can we just a little bit starting to bring more awareness, starting to bring more mindfulness into that continuity and start to notice what is really happening on a moment-to-moment level. What is the direct experience of my life? What is the direct experience of working, of relating, of sleeping, of exercising, of moving, of going to do the laundry, of going to get groceries, of cleaning the kitchen, of sitting and listening to each other. So this is where we can start to bring mindfulness into every moment, because it's the same thing where as we are sitting now, there's just the experience going on, seeing, hearing, feeling, thinking, emotions, and so it's really, in the meditation, we just have a very controlled container to experience that and to practice to attend to it. But really, we have all our life, all our day. So today's we have the Buddha's teaching are a teaching of care. The Buddha always talked about the precepts, about practicing, about loving kindness, about essentially practicing care. So the precepts, not harming, not stealing, not lying, not killing, they are somehow guidelines to not only care for others. The precepts are not just about being good in this world and being good for others, but really it's also because these precepts, they help us care for ourselves. They help us not generate greed, hatred, anger, and delusion through the intoxicants, for example, and for ourselves. And so another way to say this is the Buddha's teachings are teachings of non-violence. So throughout our lives, sometimes we tend to commit violence, and sometimes that is very obvious violence, of course, but sometimes it's very subtle violence, violence for the world, violence towards others, violence towards ourselves. Having self-judgmental thoughts is a form of violence, forcing our body to do things and not attending to and listening to it is a form of violence also. So all this violence that we have towards our thoughts, our emotions, our bodies, it's just the same, is a different manifestation of outer violence as well. So the Buddha's teachings is you really emphasize this attentiveness, this listening, in order to check where are we being violent, where can we stop being violent. It doesn't mean floating around and being very light and sensitive the whole time. Sometimes it means taking strong action also. Standing up for yourself can be a form of non-violence. So we a little bit investigate this for ourselves. And we have the meditation practice to support this, to have a container, to have a safe space where we can attend, where we can notice. So we have a little bit two different modes of practicing. One is the formal daily practice that we're doing. So we're doing 2 hours a day during this course. And here we have the opportunity to go deep. The priority during this time is really just the awareness, just the mindfulness. So we're using this time not to think about other stuff, to plan, to engage with content, but we are just aware of the experience as it's happening. This is a very sacred place where we're cultivating certain qualities, certain ways of being. And then of course we have the rest of our life, the rest of our day. And here we have other priorities, right? We have priorities of work, of relationship, of keeping the house clean, of keeping the body fed, moving the body, different priorities. But here is also, we can bring in a little bit of awareness to never let it fully just die out or become something that we just do in the meditation, but a little bit always through the rest of the day. So for the formal daily practice, it's really a nice idea to have some minimum time commitment daily that you feel, okay, this is really the minimum that I can commit to, and I do it every single day. So depends a little bit on you, your lifestyle, how busy you are, your motivation to practice, how deep you want to go with it. But maybe having something, okay, I do minimum half an hour every morning, unless it's a really extreme circumstance, everything is completely changed. But if it's a normal day, even if I'm traveling or something, I can manage half an hour. I can do that. And then if I do extra, great, I do it. If you put too much minimum time commitment daily, for example, if 2 hours is quite a lot, especially if you have a job, if you have children or something. 2 hours is a lot, and then it can become a stress to do it. It can become another thing to tick off on the task list, and you just do it to do it. You don't really pay attention in the moment because you're tired, you're exhausted maybe. So it's a good idea to have something which is achievable and where you feel motivated to do it. Not too intense, not too relaxed, somewhere in between. So what that time is for you is a little bit personal, but maybe everyone can just write in the chat what they think would be a realistic time. You can change it, but just to share it here in this open forum, what is the time that you feel, okay, like I have time for this every day, this much time. So you can write number of minutes in the chat. 30 to 45. 20. 30. 2 hours. Wow. For me, it's 1 hour. Great. So you have your time. And if you do that every day, it's so important. It's this consistency over time that really builds it, where you develop, where you practice. You might not see the effect one day, 2 day. Now, of course, the different states, they always changing of the body and mind. So we cannot measure the impact in a very short time, but over months, maybe even over years, wow, it develops, it changes, it grows. Like you can't watch a plant grow day to day, but you can see a few months later, wow, this plant is completely something else. And sometimes there are different conditions. Sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's summer for the plant. So sometimes the plant grows slower, sometimes it grows faster, but it's alive and it's there and it's resilient. Then, of course, we have the life practice, the practice throughout our day. And we have so many things that we do every day. So maybe can you commit to one moment or one activity or one action that you can say, hey, during this action, I do this action multiple times a day. Maybe it's whatever it is. Or maybe there's one activity I do per day, like something. I don't want to say anything yet. In this, I want to commit to making a mindful activity, a mindful moment. Maybe if something comes to mind right now, you can write it in the chat. It's also nice to give other people ideas. Cooking, eating, swimming. So here also, preparing for a difficult conversation. I would choose something which is more neutral, especially in the beginning. It will be more easy to bring mindfulness into it if it's something neutral, something simple. Preparing for a difficult conversation can be emotional, can be a lot. And do you have difficult conversations every day? So having something neutral, nice in there throughout your day, which can cleaning teeth, the walk in the morning to work. Great. Nice. So Marco, you say eating, swimming. So I would be careful also with making it very broad and okay, the whole thing is going to be mindful. Can be for sure, but it would take also a lot of effort to make the whole thing mindful. So for example, for myself, for eating, I tell myself, hey, the first 3 bites of my food are going to be mindful on. And then of course, sometimes a lot of time I'm eating with other people and talking and things. But the first 3 bites, I'm going to make aware and mindful. And then anyway, makes it more likely to notice more things throughout the rest of the meal. So having a really low bar helps. Cooking also quite a big activity. Seeing, hey, when I chop my carrots or chop my vegetables, that's going to be mindful. It's going to be good anyway for not chopping yourself. Cleaning teeth is a great one. It's a short thing that we do once, twice a day. Walking up the stairs. How many stairs we walk up every day, up and down. So this is a nice one also. Yes, great. So there's different ideas. Keeping it simple, low bar, keeping it fun, not too serious is helpful. And then more and more it becomes a habit. And then you can add things. For the formal daily practice, we have our walking and sitting meditation. Personally, I like to do both always. I like to do walking and sitting. Even if I do practicing less time, practicing half an hour, I would still do half, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. Sometimes it's not possible. If I'm in the airplane or something, then I cannot do walking meditation, just do sitting. I will send out some recordings on Sunday evening, some shorter recordings, also with less instructions, with mainly just the gongs and some things I say in the beginning. So also 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. We have our balance of samatha and vipassana. So we learned a little bit more in prioritizing samatha in the first few days. So this would be more prioritizing the settling, the calming of body and mind by just focusing in one meditation object, not caring so much about what else, only noticing when we drift off and come back. And we have Vipassana, where we intentionally open up and notice more through labels, notice more what else is going on. Vipassana can be a bit more distracting, actually, a bit more, can bring up more things because we're intentionally opening up more rather than focusing on settling, on calming on one object. We're actually opening up more and learning about what is here. But anyway, always there will be something here bothering us. So where that balance lies is a bit different every day. You can also choose for yourself how much you want to prioritize in settling, calming on the meditation object, how much you want to prioritize in opening up, learning about the nature of all of your senses, all of your thoughts. Yeah, it's a nice idea to start a little bit with samatha and then go to vipassana. And then a word to the informal life practice. So I like to use this image a little bit, but we wake up in the morning and we go to sleep. So our day is this long thing. When we practice a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, maybe, we start to give in some priority towards just being aware and being in a balanced state. And then throughout the rest of the day, things happen, things kind of push and pull us, and the day plays out. But maybe this helps to already to equalize us, to calm us, to help us be more open, more spacious towards what is. And then, of course, we put in a few moments throughout the day. It's a little bit like dotting your day. So that line never is allowed to stray too far from that way of relating towards experience. So even if things happen, you just keep resetting with a few moments. And maybe you can reset fully, maybe just partially, but they're always helping. They just help us keep a little bit more openness. I don't want to say it's keeping us equal or it's keeping us in the same mood or something. No, the things will always change. Even if I'm meditating a lot, wow, there's still so many swings. There's so many moods, states, thoughts that come and go. So it's not about becoming a zombie, just being like empty all the time, but it's about learning how to relate to whatever is present. And here the body and the breath is always a good home. So the body, the experience of the body, the five senses, as we just did the exercise with picking up object, experience of the senses is a good place to anchor towards. Experience of the body, the feeling of the body, other senses, hearing, seeing, tasting. The breath, always your home. If we practice mindfulness of the mind or thinking, it can get very tricky sometimes because we can often just start thinking about stuff in the name of being mindful of thinking. So the body and breath is our home. Yes, so we have two main types of meditation, samatha, vipassana. And remembering that we have in meditation or in the rest of our life, we're just mainly working on the level of me and the world. Me, how do I change me, or how do I change the world, the material around me, the relationships, things. And in meditation, we are working more with our experience of us in of you in the world. So our thinking, our hearing, our seeing, our tasting, our smelling, our feeling. How do we actually experience the world? So be careful when this becomes thinking about the world, when it becomes trying to solve things in the world, trying to think about how to do this, how to do that, planning this, when the meditation becomes this, because then it's not anymore, then you're not anymore getting the benefits because you are just using that time to brainstorm, to whatever it is. Of course, sometimes ideas come, but the priority is on just observing our experience of us in the world. What did all the experiences that you had in your meditations have in common? They changed. Everything you experienced during these 10 days, it changed. Nothing was permanent. Everything was changing. The thoughts, the sensation. But this is the huge thing that we are learning to see clearly, is this characteristic of change of all the experience. And sometimes it feels permanent, especially when there's something unpleasant. It feels like it's going to be there forever. But that also changes. Elena is asking a question about labeling versus body scanning. Let me get to that in a second, Elena. Just to finish this narrative. So what we're developing is our faculty of wisdom, our faculty of clear seeing, our faculty of awareness and acceptance of whatever is happening in body and mind. And naturally, care starts to emerge. Naturally, compassion starts to emerge as you start to see how much stuff is going on here in this body and mind constantly. Thoughts, but happy thoughts, unpleasant thoughts, judgmental thoughts. You start to realize that we're all the same. We all have this. It's not someone else has mastered and is never having any unpleasant experience, and you're the only one who's suffering, or who has suffering, who has happiness, who cannot seem to fully arrive in complete permanent state of peace. Everyone is going through the same predicament. The more we see this, the more we accept this. More space, care, opening up for ourselves and others. So relating more and more from this. If you clench your hand right now, you really clench your hand and then relax the hand, opening the hand, clenching the hand, opening the hand. So the practice is basically just to keep recognizing when we are clenching the hand, when we are clenching the body mind, and to keep relaxing. More and more, this hand naturally is more relaxed, more open. And as we go through the life, different situations, more and more situations. There's always going to be more situations to learn. To just the awareness is not enough. When I was in the monastery for 3 months, actually at the end, my teacher, he told me, like, stop being here, like go out again and experience yourself. You need to use this faculty of awareness and then meet life with it, and then meet situations and see what comes up, and see what comes up in response, and work at that level. So it's not just about having states of peace and deep in the meditation. No, we need to face ourselves, we need to face the triggers, the things that irritate us. So if there's noise in your meditation, if there is something annoying happening, see it as an opportunity to see and learn how the body and mind is reacting to that. For example, this morning I was meditating, and then my partner came in and she started making coffee, and she was having earphones. I think she didn't realize so much how much noise she was making in the kitchen. I was sitting there meditating, and then just to wow, can see how this is working, how the body and mind is hearing this, how the heart is contracting a little bit in response. Some thoughts arising. Okay, just see it. Just see it. Great opportunity. Because those opportunities are places to see where the hand is clenching. And it's in those places where we see that the body mind is clenching that we can learn to relax it, to release it, to open it. The hand is just open the whole time. We're not learning the places where we are clenching, where we are clinging, where we are holding, where we are pushing away. So yes, this is step by step. We plant a seed, we water it, we create the right conditions, and over time it grows, becomes more resilient, more strong, and starts to even give shade and a lot of benefit towards ourselves and anyone else that can rest in the tree of Dhamma. Okay. Elena is asking, we're doing labeling instead of body scanning. What a difference. When shall we use one versus the other? So it's a little bit up to you what you resonated more with, but to see that they are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing from a different perspective. So when we have different techniques, and there's also different Vipassana techniques, there's also more, and we are working different angles of the same thing. Both are working with seeing through delusion, seeing through ignorance, releasing clinging, releasing craving, releasing aversion through clear seeing of body and mind. In body scanning, we're working more purely with body sensation and the manifestation of thought, hearing, annoyance in body sensation, and working at that level. In the labeling technique, we're working with all the sense doors, including thinking as a sense door, to directly see that. So for me personally, I find that the labeling, after doing body scanning for some time, I felt that the labeling really started helping me because I was also learning to observe the mind more clearly, the workings of the mind. But then labeling, sometimes it can become a little bit disembodied. So it's really helpful to really have this body as a foundation of your awareness, as a home of your awareness. As the sensation, the experience of the body is really the home, the anchor point. And from there, you start to notice and open up. If we don't have that mindfulness of the body established yet, then the labeling, especially if we try too much to label thoughts and not stay more with the sensation of the body, then it can become a bit confusing, unclear, just analyzing, just thinking. The body scanning also takes quite a lot of concentration, and sometimes some people say that it creates more tension, more striving, more effort. So yeah, to choose what worked for you and to work with that technique. And both techniques will take you very far.
Thank you.
I would love to hear from you actually, Elena, how you found the difference. What is it like for you?
In the last 10 Vipassana, we used the body scanning, and I found indeed that it required more concentration. And therefore it was easy.
I don't think I can hear you at the moment.
Oh, it's like,
I'll give you a minute to set up. I will answer the next question and then we'll get back to you so you can set up your audio. Maybe.
I should be good now if you can hear me.
Can't hear you still.
No? No?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a minute. So MH is asking for labeling one day. You can hear Lena. Ah, maybe it is my headphone. Okay, 1 second.
Can you hear me now?
The speaker is set to microphone. Now I can hear.
Shall
Okay.
I?
Please go ahead. Sorry about that.
I was saying that in the last 10-day Vipassana, we used body scanning. And as you said, I found it required a lot more concentration to scan the body. And therefore, it made it easier not to drift away with the mind. So in a way, I guess, if I had to say what resonates better in terms of meditation and going within, I would say body scanning at this point. Maybe it's because with the labeling, I just drift off too much.
Interesting. And how about through the rest of the day?
It's a very good question. It's a very good point. It's easier than with the labeling, because then I find myself labeling things, which I didn't do when we were doing body scanning. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I also find, so in body scanning, we are using more concentration. So the meditation can feel deeper actually, because we are very concentrated, very with the moment and going into that. But then I also found that, hey, actually throughout the rest of the day and in my life, the labeling is a little bit more applicable, because I can be aware of the activities of activity of mind, of activity of moving around, not just sensation. And but I use both. I use both in the day. Sometimes more sensation, sometimes more just aware of the activity. And you can go very deep with labeling as well. Like even in the meditation, now I feel it doesn't matter so much which one I'm doing. Both are, yeah, just squeezing the time into just here. But good. You see that, and I would trust that. I would go with that. Work with that.
Thank you.
For labeling, one day just focusing only on sounds as hearing, another day seeing. What, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Another day seeing. But there is no you will learn about what you will attend to. So if you shouldn't necessarily favor, like, today I will focus more on hearing, today I will focus more on seeing. You kind of just noticing where the attention goes by nature. Sometimes your attention will be caught by a sight, sometimes your attention will be caught by the sound. And you are just repeatedly noticing how the mind jumps there, how the mind goes there, and what appears after that, what appears, oh, maybe then there's some thought around that. And you notice that experience of seeing, that experience of hearing arises and passes. There's a beginning and end to that experience. And then the experience is thinking. And then there's a beginning and end to the experience of thinking. And then there's a beginning and end to the experience of moving the foot. So actually, the content does not matter so much for Vipassana. We can practice Vipassana actually with all of our experience. And in that way, there are actually no distractions in Vipassana meditation. There are no distractions because everything is a valid object of our meditation. Because all we're doing, going deeper, is we're starting to notice the change. We're starting to notice how everything is beginning and ending, how everything is arising and passing. That the continuity of experience is just made up of different momentary sense phenomena coming and going.
I have another question, Raymar. I find it easier when it's thoughts that come to let them go away. But when it's feelings, and sometimes the thoughts like make feelings in the stomach or in the chest, I find them more permanent, even to the point of if I actually notice on the chest and I have a knot on the chest, it can be there for the whole session if I focus on it.
Yes. Yes.
How shall we address this?
Yes, that's a great question. Absolutely. So those can really feel they are like more continuous. A more subtle way of noticing the impermanence there is to notice that your experience of it is not continuous. So you might assume that it exists there as a thing, but what you will notice that in your direct experience of the moment to moment is changing. So the experience might be more hearing, then it might be more the walking, then you might notice that thing, and then you maybe have a thought, oh, it's continuing forever. Then you're in the thinking, then you may be more in the feeling of it than something else. And even though you kind of come back to it and it still exists there, your direct experience of it is changing. So it's the same thing when we're picking up the object. Yes, the object exists there as something, but what is my direct experience of that object is changing. Sometimes it's not at all in my experience at all. And then other times I see it, I feel it, I touch it, I smell it, and it is there, very present in my experience. But my experience of it is impermanent. And it's just the idea of this object that exists as something stable, continuous through time. My direct experience of it is not like that.
Thank you. And I know the answer is no. Is it naive to think? Well, I know the answer is yes. It's naive to think that because it's unpleasant, and I know that's a label in itself. To expect that with meditation, it will go away. That somehow we're trying to clean that. I have the example of the glass that you put, and I'm thinking this is just a dust or mud in my glass, and eventually it will leave. Or that's something I shouldn't be doing, expecting that.
When there's an unpleasant sensation, emotion thing you feel?
Pressure in the chest.
Yeah. So it kind of to expect that it will leave through meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have to be careful with that. Because expecting it to leave, then is not mere awareness anymore. There's some aversion, there's some clinging, there's some the awareness is getting sort of tainted a little bit through some intention. So we can somehow have some hidden intention behind our mindfulness. I'm being mindful in order to make it go away. I'm being mindful in order to make it stay or something. But we just practicing to less and less have this, to less and less just be aware of what is here and allow it all to be impartial, to remembering this metaphor I think I used as a tree under which shade anything can rest, and some things they come and rest there. You don't, it's not important what is there, you're just noticing it, the nature of it coming and going. Another teacher, Ajahn Chah, he's using a metaphor. Meditation is like sitting in a forest and there's a pool in the forest. There's a still forest pool, like a little body of water, and different things come and drink from the pool. And sometimes those animals, they stay for a long time, they drink from the pool and then they go again. Something comes, some bird comes, drinks from the pool, goes quickly. So this is, it's like this. We're not watching it to make it go away. We're just watching it. And it's also not realistic to have the expectation that we will never feel bad again at some point. Even we advance very deep in the practice, the things keep coming and going, but they don't bother us as much anymore. But it doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means it's the experience, that the struggle against the resistance is decreasing.
Thank you.
Great. So let us conclude. I would like to make a little bit of chanting to conclude the session. We still have a day and a half left of the course. But this will be the last live touch point. So I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for your trust, for your commitment, for showing up again and again. Also through multiple courses, some of you. It's really very rewarding to see development, to see myself and to see all of you again. It's it makes me feel very grateful to be able to do this. Well, thank you. Okay, I want to chant. There was a really nice thing which was said in a retreat I did recently, which rings true, which is when I'm chanting, I'm not so much in the meaning of the words or that it's not so much a devotion, but I'm actually practicing Vipassana as I chant. I switch on the Vipassana mode as I chant. I'm observing the speech, the sensation in the hand, the feeling, and allowing the chant to happen by itself. And so when I'm chanting, it's the vibrations of Vipassana that are being shared and being spread out. It's the vibrations of the practice. So for me, this is what the chanting is about. To let it be a manifestation of a way of practicing. Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangam Namami. Sadhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night.